Today I'd like to welcome David Petty to the Resounding Collective. Welcome, David.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Going pretty well. It's
glad
been
to
a
be
little
here.
while. Yeah, glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, I mean, look at you. You look like you're from ZZ Top.
Oh, man. Maybe one of these days I'll have it all, my beard all the way down to my waist. I don't know, but I would like to have his guitar skills, but, you know, I just don't try so hard. I get lazy.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of cool, fun stuff to talk about. You've got a couple of cool things that I can't wait to ask you about and maybe show some pictures of, you know, cars and whatnot. But also, before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Just a quick little background.
45. I live with my wife out here in Texas. I'm not originally from Texas. I'm actually from Southern California. And then I moved to North Carolina because I wanted to break into NASCAR. And then I met my wife in Atlanta. And then somehow I ended up in North Texas. And I live in Bedford, which is like in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And remember the movie with George Clooney, the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where he says, well, isn't that a geographical oddity? Everything is 2 weeks away. Well, everything is 45 minutes away from Bedford. It's a geographical oddity.
You got kind of a central location, right? I think.
Oh, man. It's great, but it also is not great.
Yeah, tell me about it. You know, I used to live in the Dallas area, and I lived there for at least 20 years, driving from Dallas to Fort Worth, north to south to Bedford, south to everywhere, and it is quite interesting. It's two very large cities put together, and a whole bunch of little cities in the middle and around it, and it's lots of people there.
Yeah. And whoever designed the highways is a schizo.
Yeah. You know, the crazy thing is I had this job for a short time where one of our trainers, when I was getting into the job, was from Southern California. And that's one of the things she mentioned. She's like, the signage here and the roads are just very weird. And I couldn't agree more. I've only been to Southern California once, but just living in at least the Dallas area, it is absolutely mind-boggling. And if you can avoid driving through Dallas, avoid driving through Dallas, or pretty much anywhere near Dallas.
I mean, I think for those conspiracy theories talking about JFK's assassination, to me, the miracle is that they managed to get to the hospital at all. Mm-hmm. It's like, how did they get there? I can't even get there now.
Yeah, you know, that's crazy. Like It was probably a year when I started college before I actually decided one day, you know what, I'm going to go downtown and walk around Dallas. You know, I've heard so many stories about it. I've seen the TV show a little bit, Dallas. You know, I'm like, let me walk around. And then I actually happened upon the Grassy Knoll, and then it hit me. Oh, wait, that happened here. You know, for the first time, I'd never been to downtown Dallas before. So when I was walking around, it just kind of hit me like, wow, this is where, you know, President Kennedy was assassinated. So I started looking around going, geez, I've seen the footage. I've seen it on TV, you know, documentaries and movies and everything. And I'm standing on the Grassy Knoll right now. You know, and this was many years ago, but also, you know, there's people walking across the street, and you could tell everybody's like tourists and stuff. So they all got their cameras and all just snapping photos everywhere. And there's the book depository right there. And so yeah, that was a big kicker for me when it just knocked me out. I was like, wow, I forgot that happened here.
Yeah, well, you know, they put that stupid X in the road.
Oh,
where
like,
it looks historical. It's not stupid in the sense that it signifies where JFK was shot. But now everybody's trying to get out into the middle of that road to take a photo.
Yeah, and the drivers are the drivers in Dallas, depending on where you are, most of the time they'll be okay for it for a second. But then if you're there too long, they're just like, all right, I'm going. They'll knock you over if you're there too long. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we're not here to talk too much about Dallas. But, yeah, personally, I moved down to Austin. So I lived in the Austin area for a while. And it was kind of a night and day difference, at least as far as driving is concerned. Because I used to have to commute like pretty much across town through Dallas. And it was just every day was terrible. And then again, moving down here, I was like, man, the traffic is fine. There's a few slowdowns here and there, and some of my friends who had lived here for a long time go, no, the traffic is terrible. I'm like, no, it's not terrible. It is not Dallas. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Jurassic Park, but can you tell us why you suggested Jurassic Park? Does that have something to do with your job?
No, I don't. I don't have a job. I'm really lucky. I have a job, but it's. I work like maybe 4 to 5 days a month. So, I married up. That's how I explain it for right now. I got really smart. If anybody can do that, do that.
Hmm.
I was a huge Star Wars fan, and I had massive amounts of Star Wars, and was part of the whole Star Wars club thing, and that just all backfired. Everything just went completely sideways, both in the club and in the movies and everything, and I just wanted to go jump to something else. And then my wife and I would got in this big argument because I'm from Southern California. I come from a land where you go to Disneyland when you're bored, or you go to Knott's Berry Farm, or you go to the beach. Here, you go to Target and you go to Walmart. That's it. You go to Target, you go to Walmart. And we had this big fight, and she said, I'm like, there's nothing to do out here. And she said, well, there's dinosaurs. I thought she was lying. I'm like, what do you mean there's dinosaurs? There's no dinosaurs in Southern California. What are you talking about? So she introduced me to Dinosaur Valley. And if anybody has a chance to go, you need to go. It's like, I compare it to the asteroid crater out in Arizona, if I have that right. Because until you get there, it really doesn't mean anything. But when you get there, it really resonates that you're like, oh my gosh, this stuff's really real. And then that led into me fossil hunting. So that's what I do as a hobby right now. But you know, it's a really crazy, fun, horrible hobby because it's so easy to just dive right in and you get lost. And then, of course, if you like dinosaurs, then, of course, you like Jurassic Park. I loved Jurassic Park when I was a kid back in '93. It was one of the first PG-13 movies I saw as a kid, like by myself.
Really?
It was one of what I considered a scary movie that I saw by myself. It's not scary, but it was like frightening to me. Oh my gosh! I just didn't. I really fell in love with dinosaurs then, and so it wasn't hard to just give up all my Star Wars stuff and just kind of focus in on Jurassic Park, but in dinosaurs in general. And just for the record, Texas, as much as we complain about Texas, is so underrated when it comes to dinosaur everything. I mean, we're connected to Jurassic Park, classic Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World, but Jurassic 1 and 2 specifically. In Texas, we're connected through a guy by the name of Robert Bakker, doctor, paleontologist, and he's emulated in Lost World. He's the guy with the hair, just like you. He looks just like you.
That's my next cosplay.
And, dude, that'd be great if you could, because I want to do that too, but I don't have the face for it. You do. That looks awesome. And he not only, like, he was put in Lost World because he helped the dinosaur designers. Come on, what's the theater now? Now the studio is like, it's escaping my memory. I apologize.
It was Emblem Entertainment, right? Because it was
Emblem Entertainment and through Universal, but I'm talking about the people that designed the actual dinosaurs. Stan Winston.
It's through Lucasfilm. Through Lucasfilm, right?
No, it's through Stan Winston. Stan Winston was the one that created all the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right, the practical ones. Mm-hmm. And he is a curator for the Natural History Museum out in Houston.
So he was the guy where the kid just kept saying, oh, there's this book by this guy named Bakker? Is that what he's talking about?
Timmy.
So cool.
There's this man named Bakker. And
okay, so I did not know that. And I'm not too far away from Houston, but that's one place we're going to have to try to, or at the very least, I got to try to go to Dinosaur Valley. That sounds like a fun place to visit.
You have Dinosaur Valley, and then right across the way you have Fossil Rim Animal Park, which gives you an idea of what Jurassic Park might have been like, or could have been. Because it's just all these animals all over the place, and you're going up this hill, and you're doing your own tour, and it's just dinosaur everything out there. It's awesome.
That is so cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go there. But you reminded me of, I remember seeing it in the theater. I think my whole family went, and this was, we were old enough to where, like, when I was young, we never really went to the theater. We never went to see movies. We usually watched them on TV when they came out. I don't know if it was the first movie we all went to see as whole family, but definitely we all went to see it. I still remember it. Like, I remember, the part where the T-Rex is coming down on the when they're all in the vehicle, right? And then he smashes through there. I remember kind of glancing over at my youngest sister, and she was like covering her whole face with her hands. I was like, "Hey, it was scary," but seeing that movie in the theater, I mean, if ever there was a film to see in a theater with all the sound and the fury and all that good stuff, definitely was Jurassic Park. That even to this day, it's amazing.
You got a bunch of old guys, pardon me, but that they say there's nothing like seeing that Star Destroyer cross that screen for the first time. It's like, well, there was nothing like seeing that Brachiosaur for the first time. Like dinosaurs weren't like that when we were growing up.
Right.
They were claymation. They were poorly sculpted. Things didn't match up. And then you see this, and you're like, wow, everything makes sense, and it looks real, and I can associate. Yeah. I mean, it changed so much of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was one thing that also you reminded me of. I remember I didn't notice it when I first saw it. It took many, many years, and I was probably studying it because I know Jurassic Park was one of those movies that got me thinking about computer-generated imagery and things like that. And I still remember when I was in high school, I was in an art class, and probably my junior year, we had a guest come in, and he talked about the Art Institute of Dallas. And he's like, there's a lot of different things you can do. We have a multimedia division or whatever it was where you can study computer animation. And I was like, really? Cool. And he went into the whole, we've got computers there that they use the same kind of software that was used in Jurassic Park, or similar at least. It wasn't the exact same, but I was like, okay, so maybe I can do that for a living. So at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but so that was kind of the impetus of me actually moving away and coming to Dallas and living down here was, I'll go to the Art Institute of Dallas, and I'll learn how to do computer animation because I would love to be able to do Jurassic Park kind of stuff and, CGI and whatever. And of course, that never really manifested, but, I tried it and it was a lot of fun. But like many years later, I remember just watching it again, and that same scene where the T-Rex, where I guess that's where we first actually see the T-Rex, and he comes out and, he's walking between the two vehicles, right? And he's
the tour vehicles.
Yeah, the tour vehicles, and the the electricity was out, and they were electric vehicles. They were just stuck there. But I remember when the little girl turns on the light, and everyone's like, "Don't turn the light off, turn the light off!" And the T-Rex starts walking towards them. You can see like kind of the back of his knees, and where his calves meet his knees, you can actually see like tendons moving as if it was an actual animal moving in real space. It was just like, that's how much detail they put into it and how realistic it really was, even though it's, they're working from just bones and models and whatnot, but they made it look so absolutely real. So seeing that in the theater was just insane.
Well, I not to get too far off track here, but I always use that scene as an example that the lesson of Jurassic Park is not that you should not clone dinosaurs. It's that electric vehicles are going to trump you every time. Like, they're going to put you in the lurch. You want gas-powered vehicles. Yeah. Electric vehicles are going to run out of power. You're not going to have anything. And when you're out of power, you're going to want that gas-powered Jeep every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the instance of that particular one where you have them running on a track, all you need is if something were to cut the power, you can't move them. I think there was like no combustion engine in those. So yeah, they're like, we need to get out of here.
You guys you're making the wrong argument. There's nothing wrong with cloning a woolly mammoth.
You just have to be able to get away real fast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
They didn't stop to think if they should.
My great grandpa hunted a woolly mammoth. I can too.
Yeah. Oh man, that was just one of those little things that stood out to me when I watched it again. Going, wow, they really did put so much effort into it and to make it super realistic. And like watching the scene where they're running from the Dilophosaurus. No, they're the Gallimimus, and that perfect kind of camera shot of them. The camera's coming is in front of them just as they're running, and the things are jumping all over them and running past and everything. And this is such a realistic scene.
Well, it's realistic because part of it was okay. There's a bunch of stories about that whole thing. First off, the movie was supposed to be stop motion. You remember it says Phil Tippett, dinosaur handler?
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that was supposed to do the stop motion.
Yeah.
And the reason why he didn't was because there was a rogue like computer animator that said, I'm going to do it without permission. I want to see how far we can go with this. And he did a little short and showed Steven Spielberg just how far they could go with the computer animation. And it was a big success. But about the Gallimimus scene, one of the funniest parts is you'll notice that when the Gallimimus are jumping over that, what do you say? It was like a fallen tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of them doesn't land.
Yeah, he misses.
Okay. And the reason why is because they had all of the pre-production or the production crew pretending to be Gallimimus. You should watch the video. And they're running around in this parking lot, right. With their hands like this. And one, as he's jumping over the tree, he breaks his leg. Oh,
I didn't realize it was that
he
bad.
Falls. He doesn't stick the landing. Yeah. And so they put it in the movie.
I love that. That actually reminds me of like a completely different movie, but Tron, which came out in, I guess, 82 or something like that. Well, before this, Tron. But there was a lot of little kind of glitches that happened that they just kept in the movie as if it was in the computer realm. So usually it was like in the form of flashes or something like that, to where they just sometimes added a little sound effect as if, well, these are just flashes of energy, but they used it to their advantage because they was like, well, we can't fix this. Well, let's just do something with it, But I love that story. I don't remember actually reading that or watching that, because I did watch a lot of kind of behind the scenes. And in fact, I think I still have my magazine. There was a magazine that I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me, but it was a special effects magazine. And I think it was mostly it wasn't just CGI.
Was it FX?
It could be. I mean, it had kind of an odd shape to it. Like, it wasn't a regular magazine. It was thick, but it was kind of not too tall, and it was a little wide. No, Cinefex. Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think I still have. I have like a handful of those. I think I still have my Jurassic Park. Like, they had pretty much a theme for each, kind of like the main story type of thing. But they had like a full behind the scenes of that particular movie, and I think I still have that magazine. I had to dig it out and take a look at it. They're probably worth some money now because they were fairly thick magazines, and they probably cost like $10 when they came out, so they weren't like just a cheap little thing you'd find at a doctor's office. They were really in depth, and they had all the behind the scenes and the photos and shots of the room where they were actually working, and the CGI. Not the SGI station, the workstations that they used. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a company called Silicon Graphics, I guess International or something like that, but SGI, and those were, I guess, the computers that they used on Jurassic Park. One version of them or whatever. And when I got my first job at JCPenney right out of college, and this was about like the year 2000, my boss's boss actually had an SGI workstation. And I saw it and I went, I know what that is. Wow, how'd you get that? And he's like, oh, yeah, I had to convince them to let me buy it because it was not cheap. Even at the time, it was probably like a $30,000 machine, And he has to actually do computer animated characters and stuff for the JCPenney company back then. I was like, wow, you are a cool person.
John, listening to you, it's like, and we have a split screen going on. This is the difference between a geek and a nerd. Because you lost me. But I collected all the toys. And I always joke that a geek is an unsuccessful nerd, and a nerd is a successful geek.
Yeah.
And I see it right here, because you're so far ahead of me when it comes to the computer stuff. I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah. Computer. I understand computer.
There you go.
And JCPenney.
Mm-hmm. At least we do. I mean, there's still a JCPenney, but it's so different than back when we were growing up, where the JCPenney was one of those mall anchor stores, kind of like Macy's or whatever, where you would see them all over the United States. And now there's just like, oh, hey, look, there's one. I wonder if it's even open now, because malls are not a thing anymore, which I'm sad about.
It's just pennies.
I love malls. So yeah,
people don't understand how great they were back in the day, but.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's one thing I love about them. No. I'm more than happy to talk about like old stuff like malls and whatever, because that's what I kind of want to do with my podcast. Is not only bring to light for me, it's crazy that people don't know. Some people don't even know what a mall is. Like, what do you mean? What's a mall? Because there's just hardly any of them left. But obviously, when you and I were growing up, it was they were everywhere, and that was kind of where people went to hang out. They went shopping and did all sorts of stuff. But it's like I love to bring up all those fond memories of things that just don't exist anymore. Because obviously there's things like Amazon where I still remember when it was just a bookseller online, and when people were like, "Oh, you can buy clothes at Amazon, you can buy food at Amazon." I was like, "Why? Why would I go there? I'll go to a local Walmart, or I'll buy clothes at JCPenney. Why would I want to buy that online at Amazon? Don't they just sell books?" So it's like everything is so much different now, to where sadly malls are not a thing anymore, and but I'm all for
Get
the
back on track.
nostalgia.
Oh, sorry. No, to get
Please
back
do.
on track, my first time I saw Jurassic Park was in a mall.
I saw the original Star Wars. I never saw it in a theater, which was sad, but my family went and saw it when they re-released it. I think it might have been 1997 or something.
It was
They had
97,
done, they had done like a restoration and actually brought it back to theaters. So I got to see it in theater for the first time, and yeah, it was amazing. But of course, it was a theater at the mall. So I'm kind of sad that there's very few of those left. But man, that was the thing. You would go to the mall and get all your shopping done, and even eat food, and then go see a movie afterwards.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jurassic Park. I was waiting in line to see the movie because there was a line. That's the other thing people don't understand is lines to see a movie. And I'd have someone save my spot, go to the baseball card store that was literally right next to the line, and buy Jurassic Park trading cards.
Sweet.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And sometimes they would have like a special tie-in because the movie was going to be the big summer blockbuster, that kind of thing. So they would have specialty things that you could buy at the theater, the big tub or whatever. Tub of popcorn, Yeah, a quick little aside. I told this story before, but I haven't told it on the video podcast version. But there was my dad and I, a few years ago, we were waiting in a theater. We got there early. This was before you could actually purchase your spot online, kind of thing, to where you would go, and if you were first, you were first. So you got to pick where you wanted to sit. So we were waiting for whatever movie it was. There was only like 2 other people in the theater because it was early. And then we see this lady come in with her like 4 children. 4 boys. They started off, like this high, this high, this high. The smallest kid, like 4 kids come in, and the smallest of them was carrying like the biggest big gulp they had. Huge drink. This poor little kid was just walking in, and I just looked at it. Uh-oh. You see what happened? I just turned on the tracking because I had my hands up. Stop tracking. Okay, now it's stopped tracking. Let me go back to my original shot.
Here, I'll help. I'll fix it. There we go.
There you go.
Now only half of us are... Yeah, there you go.
Anyway.
Okay, so kid had...
Okay, so no more jazz hands, but... Yes, he had the biggest big gulp that you could... And my dad and I just looked at each other, and I just started counting down, a few seconds, 3, 2, 1, and sure enough, the kid dropped it. So we hear splash! All that, whatever the beverage was all on the floor. Fun times. Yeah.
Fun times. And that's how you get sticky floors.
That is exactly how you give the tiniest kid the biggest big gulp you can.
So, Jurassic Park.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about, do you still have your Jurassic Park Jeep?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that thing won't die. It refuses to die. I just repainted it.
That is so awesome. I
fixed the hood because it had issues.
Oh, did it? I
you
wanted
want to do one?
Let's see. I noticed on your Facebook page you have a picture of it, so I wanted to share that picture if I could. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's right after I just finished painting it, and I used caliper paint because I couldn't find the right shade of red that I liked. And
Really?
My Jeep isn't accurate. It's a TJ, and the ones they used in the movie were YJs. So
okay, Jeep people know what you mean.
Yeah, well, it's all different generations.
Oh, okay.
So they used the '93 Jeep Wrangler Sahara with these gorgeous green seats and a green interior. It looks gorgeous. And then my Jeep is a 2005 Jeep Wrangler. It's not a Sahara because they didn't come out with Saharas in 2005. But I did these things to kind of bring it back to life and use these own iterations. And I didn't want to paint it the same color that they used for the Jurassic Park Jeep. I just kept it the original. It's called Light Desert Khaki because I thought that the paint might look good on the YJ, the original one, but on the TJ it looks bloated.
Huh. Weird.
So I wanted to find a red that kind of complemented the whole thing. And I take that fossil hunting with me, and there it is. And I take that fossil hunting with me, and it's good, but it sucks because everybody knows where I hunt.
so you like, I know that guy.
One guy came up and asked me. He now follows me when I go fossil hunting, but he's like, "Do you hunt dinosaur bones?" And I'm like, "No, I hunt arrowheads with the Jeep right behind me, with the dinosaur sticking out." I mean, it's like, oh yeah, okay.
But I mean, what a fun thing to do, and I mean, you could actually get to where you need to go in a Jeep, not like in my city car, which is not designed for off-roading. So.
Well, yeah, but there are some good parts and bad parts. First off, you got to mention Jurassic Park Motor Pool, which is a club I'm part of that helps you do all this stuff. And they got some great people, especially out here in Texas, to talk to how to repair your Jeep or things like that. And the club itself is pretty darn awesome compared to other clubs I'm not going to mention. But what was I going to say? Great. Now I just forgot what I was going to say. But, oh yeah, that's it. The ragtop, which is what it has to be screen accurate, is so loud.
Is it flapping in the wind or just?
Oh, it's like driving a tent on the freeway, and it only goes maximum speed on the freeway around 70 miles per hour. 80 if I'm going downhill and the wind is pushing me. But it's definitely a car you kind of take your time in, and it's worth it. Once you get used to it, it's awesome. But I remember my wife, she had a 2002 WRX, and we are car people. We love cars, and her WRX kind of got us in a bind because the head gasket blew, and everybody knows that's not a good thing when the head gasket goes. And I had a Subaru Crosstrek that I had it all lifted. It had off-road. I mean, it looked gorgeous. It was awesome.
Nice.
And she says, "How about, David, if I take your Crosstrek and we buy you a Jeep Wrangler and you Jurassic Park it?" I'm like, yes! Yes, of course!
Yes.
And then I did it, and I drove the Jeep for like an hour and 45 minutes. I had a road trip I wanted to do, and I was just like, this is the worst decision I've ever made.
Oh, no.
My wife took advantage of me again.
Yeah.
Or I was literally like, my wife took advantage of me again. This is horrible. You're paranoid when you're driving because Dallas people aren't the best drivers, but I have to look like 3 or 4 times every time. Like even right now, if I need to get in the next lane, I'm looking like 4 times.
You making sure is anyone there because I'm coming.
Yeah, anyone there.
That's probably why I don't drive like a very small car, because like my girlfriend Jenny has Scion FRS. So it's basically a Toyota, but it's also, the Subaru has a version of it too. And she's
rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, and it's really low to the ground. And you know how it is in Texas, pretty much everyone, at least nowadays, owns either a very large truck or large SUV or a small SUV. Everyone's way up here. No one sees these tiny little cars. So a lot of times she's just like, I hope no one's here because I can't see anybody. Nope. And if they're not going to see me either because I'm way down here. So, luckily, there's a lot of the modern cars have a lot of warning things. So they're like, oh, wait, there's someone there. Don't back up. Otherwise, she's crushed.
Yeah, but the thing I love about my Jeep is you'd be surprised how, not just because it's very short wheelbase, but it's really thin. And so you wouldn't realize it, looking at that Jeep. But I can park in the small parking lots at the mall where they have it for like smart cars.
Yeah, compact car only.
I can park my Jeep in a smart car parking spot.
Nice.
That they have the compact car spot.
Yeah, I can't even do that with my Mazda 3 hatchback, which is it's still it's a fairly small car, but it's actually wider than you might think. It's not a teeny tiny little car. So I'll go into I can fit in there, and then I park and I'm like, I can't fit here. Let me go somewhere else.
No, but yeah, no, the Jeep
Yeah.
is it's a lot of fun to drive, and I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it as long as it doesn't want to quit on me. So
Yeah, yeah. But it is beautiful. Also,
thank you.
yeah, I wanted to ask you about your other car that you have. I don't know if you still have it, but the X-Wing car that was your
Gone.
Firebird. Oh, it's no longer. Because I remember, like, first, of course, I saw it for the first time. I was like, wow, that's really cool. But then I think it was featured in some sort of, maybe it was a magazine or something. I was like, I know that
Oh, it
guy. I
was
know his car. Somebody was pointing it out, or maybe it was just a
the
video that
Chive.
someone posted from. I guess it was probably what is that? What is that sci-fi convention in Dallas? Is it just
Oh,
Dallas
yeah.
fan
No, I mean,
fan
if
days
you
or
don't
something?
mind me, if you don't mind me complaining, I could complain all day about that car
Oh, I
because
love complaining.
I love that car. It was a '97 Firebird. There was nothing wrong with it. We put R2KT on the back, and I tried having people help me, and all the smartest people in these Star Wars clubs were like, oh, I know how to mount that droid dome onto your car, and none of them could figure it out. And then it took one of my friends who came from the Navy. He was in the Navy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is what you do." And he's the one that figured it out, and it's so easy. We had the drive motor which turned the dome inside the dome upside down because everybody else on an R2 unit, the drive motor is not inside the dome; it's inside the body.
Okay, so
Does that make sense?
I'm kind of just trying to
So
visualize what it would look
a
like
drive
with
motor
the
is very
motor,
much
and
like
then
a
you've
water bottle.
okay,
So it's like this. It looks like this, and the body would be here, the dome would be on top, and then the wheel would move the dome on the bottom. We just reversed it,
okay.
and it worked, it worked brilliantly.
Cool.
It caused some accidents, but the reason why I didn't like it was because I tried to make it look as realistic as possible. I thought surely if we make it look like it came out of the movie, all like gray, different shades of gray, and all these scorch marks and all that,
It
people
had
would
to have
appreciate
that.
it. People didn't appreciate it. People didn't like it. We would take it to Star Wars Celebration, and the cars that I didn't think that mine was better, but theirs was more colorful. I didn't think that theirs was any better either. It just got more
More
attention
attention.
just because it was a different color, and it was like it because they use like chrome red or more red,
Yeah.
and then 501st people, they were spreading rumors about me, and so like my car was just like, there was one time I brought my car and they had it literally in the corner. Yeah, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, I mean, this event
That's
I organized. That's why I was allowed to have the car there.
nice. But yeah, I just wanted to show,
But
like, it was so cool how it had all the little things on there, and of course, like you mentioned, it had the colors, and it had the kind of streaks and the dirty bits and whatever, and that's what you need. You don't need it to be pristine. You need it to look like it's been through space and been through a few battles.
yeah, it's
And
been through
a
a heck
few,
and back, and
yeah, I love that.
it's got some cool detail. You got to give a shout out to a man by the name of Shawn Crosby. He started Road Squadron, ROAD, and
Hmm.
he did the first Star Wars car. He used I think it was a Honda. I could be wrong. It was one of those old cars. It was just had a like, it wasn't a Fiero, but I forget what it was. But he did the Star Wars stuff. He did the Star Wars car. Really left an impression on me. I always wanted to do it. And you'll see I did a lot of things he did, and he had no problem with it. Like the wheel covers are pizza pans.
Nice.
You wouldn't know it. And
Yeah,
all
yeah.
you do is drill a center. You drill a hole right through the center of that pan.
Mhm.
You spin the pizza pan on the drill, and while it's spinning, you take some sandpaper and just let it do its thing. Just push it, pull it back, and it
Yeah.
creates the streak and circular look.
Perfect. Yeah.
And it worked absolutely genius.
Hmm.
I what you don't see is how much detail I put into that car inside, because the steering wheel I cut to give it kind of a yoke look,
Mm.
and then I drilled
Yeah.
holes on the doors, and then put Christmas lights in there. So
Nice.
because in the X-wings, the the panels off to the sides, they're all lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah,
And so it
yeah.
was really easy just to do that. It wasn't hard at all.
That's cool.
And I liked it because I never got lonely. I had R2KT behind me, and I could
Moving
turn it
around.
around and
Nice.
spin.
That's really cool. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not too far away from having robot companions now. I mean, if you've seen those Boston Dynamics and different robots, they've got like dog style robots happening, and I'm not going to get into that, but I think it would be kind of cool to have a little R2 style robot just companion, just just to be a
Well,
little buddy to come with you.
I took a robotics class over at UTA, University of Texas Arlington, and it was not what I was expecting at all. It was more about talking about the concept and the theory of robotics. I was like, there's really no reason, though, why you can't make an astromech-style droid that it follows you around the house, it helps you around, and then when it's time to drive, you take the dome off, you put it on your car, and then it acts as your GPS. Maybe drives your car intermittently. Maybe it can contact the car next to you so that you can get into the lane, and so
Yeah.
interaction. Which, in Dallas, that's like a premium getting any type of real estate on the freeway. It's like, can I come in? No, I hate you. Why? Because you want to come in my lane. That's
There's
Dallas.
something I noticed that about Dallas drivers, and even here to an effect, is the minute you signal that you want to get over, they're like, nope. Oh, I had a whole gap here, but you want to come over? Nope. So they go faster, so you can't get in. I was like, why? Inexplicable.
It's the same joke in LA. I mean, the famous joke in LA is that if I want to get in the left lane, I use my right lane turn signal, and then get in the left lane and trick them.
Yeah,
That's how you
you
get
got to
it.
trick them to get in.
Right. But yeah, I missed that car, but yeah, it's gone. I sold the dome. It's with somebody at Astromech Builders Club. They bought it, and the car is junk. We always had problems with the fuel pump, anyways.
Oh
So.
well, yeah. I mean, it was a really cool car, and it was really cool to see it. Especially that one time that I noticed it. I was like, it was wherever it was. It was in that. It was. I don't think it was a magazine. I think it was like on a YouTube video or something. But it was like coverage of the event. I was like, hey. I know.
If I could just interject there, though, it's nice to hear that now, because back in the day, and it's not a slight to you, no one told me anything. No one said anything. Nobody. It was only after I got rid of the car that people were like, "Hey, what happened to the Star Wars car?" It's like, nobody cared. It was weird. I get more love with the Jurassic Jeep. So
I can imagine, though. I mean, because that's one of those cars where, I mean, if I were to see it, both cars I would go crazy. But you see the Jurassic Park, you're like, oh, that's so cool. And then you see the person like getting into it, you're like, oh, is this yours? You're like, yeah. Or, no, I'm just stealing it.
Yeah. Well, I like the Jurassic Jeep too because I have fossils in the Jeep, and I will give them out to kids.
Oh, that is really cool.
So
Nice.
yeah, you can't do that with Star Wars.
Yeah, and sadly, there's probably a lot of people you give them a Star Wars story. It's like, what is this? You give them an actual fossil.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, wow, that's cool.
Besides, nowadays it's like, are you a Star Wars fan? Are you toxic? It's like,
Right.
they got it so separate. It's like, what kind of Star Wars fan are you? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
So I'm just like, I don't like it anymore. So there, that just cut and dry. Whereas with Jurassic Park, nobody asks that question. Nobody. You like Jurassic Park, you love Jurassic Park. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You like dinosaurs, you don't like dinosaurs. It's awesome.
Right. Yeah. There's no kind of gray area really.
The only gray area I can think of is some people try to rag on the original Jurassic Park because of the way that they emulated dinosaurs, but that just leads to a more interesting discussion.
Yeah, very very different than Star Wars fandom, which can turn sour really quickly, depending on who you're talking to. Right?
Dude, that is a totally different episode. Trust me. If you ever want to do an episode talking about really horrible Star Wars fandom, I mean, like deep down horrible stuff. I got receipts. I got everything, and it's just like,
Nice.
whoa.
We can dish, right?
It involves murder. I mean, it's like it got that bad. Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Let's talk
I
about
would say,
Jurassic Park.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I saw the first Jurassic. I actually saw the first trilogy, I guess you could say, because I think it was pretty much a trilogy, and then after the third Jurassic Park movie, they kind of stopped doing. At least I think it was. I don't know if Steven Spielberg had anything to do with the third Jurassic Park movie. I don't know if he did. I think
Produced
after the
it.
second one, he said, "Did he produce it?" Okay, cool. Yeah, because
Hmm.
I think he directed the second one as well. Obviously, he did the first one, and I still
Yeah.
remember the second one. It kind of lost me pretty quick, unfortunately. And then I just kind of forgot about it. And then the third one came out, and I remember really liking that one a lot, you know.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I like that they were able to add in the kind of the pterodactyls and the aviary, I guess you could say, that huge dome that had all
Yeah.
the
The
dinosaurs in it.
pteranodons. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that because like I saw the first movie and loved it, and then after that I read the book, like which is weird because Jenny read the book first and then saw the movie, and she's like, I didn't like the movie because if you read the book, there's a lot that they can't put into a movie and keep it under 5 hours long, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But
The
so I
book
was
is
I was
so
happy they brought.
violent.
It's so different. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, but I was glad that they brought back the pterodactyls. And there's a part in the third movie where one of the characters has like a satellite phone with him, one of those really industrial style satellite phones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it has a very distinct kind of ring to it. It's very loud, and obviously it's designed for that, so you can hear it wherever you are. And
Right.
I remember they established that someone called him on his satellite phone, so they would go, okay, he's got a phone that will work pretty much anywhere, right? And there was a scene a little bit later on when they were in the jungle and they're running away from all the scary stuff, and the phone rings and it's really loud. I think they were trying to hide from one of the dinosaurs, but it was really loud, but it kind of came from the right side. And when I was in the theater, I thought, who brought their cell phone in here and why is it ringing so loudly? What the heck is wrong with you, dude? And then I realized like, oh, that's just surround sound. It's supposed to
The
do that.
part that I hate about Jurassic 3 with that phone is that phone ringtone was such a common ringtone back in the day that it was like that was the generic ringtone you got when you got your phone. It wasn't what they were trying to say it was. The coolest part about Jurassic Park 3 is the thing that nobody talks about that I like, which is I can't remember the guy that wrote this. Remember the bar scene when they go in the bar
I probably do. I'd have to,
to talk about okay, so
Oh yes,
the,
yes,
uh,
yes.
the
They're in the
the
booth.
little
They're talking
boy's
about it.
parents are lying to Grant
Yep.
about who they are and what they do for hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And the song that's being played on the record player
Mm-hmm.
is not a real song. It's a song they wrote just for the movie.
All right.
It's called Big Hat, No Saddle. And it's supposed to be foreshadowing that these parents are complete liars. They're not telling the truth. They're it's all hat, no saddle. They're not cowboys like they're saying. And when you watch Jurassic Park 3 the first time and you watch that scene, it's not that funny when the wife says we've already booked our trip to the moon. But then when you watch it again, it's hilarious because the husband gives her a look, and then she kind of like, I shouldn't have said that. Like she overshot it. And it's like if you didn't know they were lying, it's not that funny. But once you know they're lying, it is one of the funniest things in the movie.
Yeah, that brings to mind a lot of the talk of this foreshadows this and that and that, and I watch those videos that break down that sort of stuff, and I'm like, no, never. I still remember watching the film, and I still remember that scene, and no, I don't remember my mind going, hey, wait a minute, is that song trying to tell me something?
Right?
Maybe it was
why
just.
did you guys put that?
Yeah, maybe it was
why
just
did you
like
put
one
that
of
in the
those
movie?
minor details that they put in there so that when you rewatch it, you'll get it and go, oh, I can't believe you put that in there.
Right. It was just genius. I thought it was a really funny aspect.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
I like that about movies and also like music. There's certain like CDs or I guess you could say albums, because it's like if you listen to it all the way through, it's great, but then if you revisit it a few times, you go, they actually kind of added this little thing that's kind of going through all the songs, or there's lyrics that kind of tie into the next song somehow. And like with movies, that whole sort of foreshadowing thing, they do that a lot in the this Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. The
The
Cornetto
Coronado
trilogy.
trilogies.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
Cornetto trilogy, they did this really, really strongly in the third movie they did. It was The World's End. And there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of foreshadowing. This character, their name says this about him. And, oh, there's Gary King. He's the king. And then the next one is the second in command. And then there's this third guy. And this fourth guy is just a pawn or whatever. But they set all these things
Oh
up.
my
And
gosh, I never even thought.
right, and like the
Now I got to
names of,
rewatch it.
yeah, like the names of all the pubs are foreshadowing in themselves. Like there's a pub called the
Yes.
Cross Hands, and that's where they fight each other because they're cross. Or there's the Good Companion, and all these things. And when they were actually explaining all this stuff, and I was watching that, going, "Wow, that's fascinating." None of that resonated at all when I watched the film, and even now I watch it like, okay, I kind of get it now, but it's just maybe it's just part of that. The more you watch it, the more you'll get out of it because you'll be like, oh, that's why he said that thing, or that's why they acted in this manner, or that's why this character's name is this, and why he acts in a certain way because he's the fourth in command in this scenario where the king is in charge of everybody, and then you got the different layers and different things that you can dive into the more you watch the film, or the more you get into it, or the more you read a book or listen to a CD, whatever the case may be.
Well, I think if I can interject real quick, I think part of that is that we didn't appreciate the movies we had at that time because it doesn't feel like people that are making movies now really have any soul. And when they put those things in there as little Easter eggs or foreshadowing, whatever you call, they're having fun doing it. Like when you start laughing, you're going to tell that they had a sense of humor and they inserted it in. I don't see that very much in movies nowadays. It's very stale.
Yeah, I actually watched the treatise probably on YouTube or something, but it was kind of like this type of comedy movie versus this type of comedy movie, where the ones that actually put a lot of effort into it give you a lot of this kind of depth, whereas the one that doesn't put effort in it just, here's the joke, laugh. Okay, next joke, laugh. It's like, well, if you take time to set up a scenario to where the punchline is so much better because you went through all the effort to set it up,
Right, like let me give you an example.
More out of it.
Let me give you an example. Jurassic World. Like we're already past Jurassic Park Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. The part where the dinosaurs are fighting, you got T-Rex versus Indominus. Blue gets kicked to the curb, but then T-Rex is about to be taken out, and then all of a sudden you hear the bark of Blue, the Velociraptor call, and Blue starts charging. If you listen closely, Colin Trevorrow inserted the Lost World soundtrack in when Blue starts charging. And the reason that's really interesting and important is Velociraptors were such a menacing and integral part of Lost World. So I like that kind of, like, he put a lot of thought into that score. I'm not saying that he did the score, but somebody did it, and somebody had a lot of fun, and somebody knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they
I'll
add
just say
little,
it that way.
Right. Add a little bit of nuance to it, to where if you can pick it up, you appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to think if there was anything that I wanted to talk about that I missed. I don't think so.
Well,
But,
we can talk about Lost World because we completely skipped Lost World. I got a crazy Jurassic Dominion theory that drives everyone crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So please tell us about your Dominion theory. First of all, give us a little bit of behind the scenes, or a little, so I can catch up on what Dominion is.
So Jurassic World Dominion is the last movie in the Jurassic World trilogy. Okay? It's directed by Colin Trevorrow. I believe it's written by Colin Trevorrow. Colin Trevorrow did Jurassic World. He did not do Jurassic Fallen Kingdom, which is a very integral part of my theory. And the reason why he didn't do Jurassic Fallen Kingdom was because he was supposed to direct Star Wars Episode 9. And people forget that Kathleen Kennedy is really responsible for a lot of franchises going away abruptly or ending horribly. So, the more famous one everyone knows is Game of Thrones, the last season. Oh, it was horrible. Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Benioff and Weiss were in a rush. They got hired to do Star Wars, and then they got fired from Star Wars once everyone was talking about how horrible the season was. Because that's what Kathleen Kennedy does. She hires and then she fires. So Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do Fallen Kingdom. Jurassic World was kind of his baby. Colin Trevorrow does some really awesome art movies before all of this. But you can tell by just the way he talks in interviews and stuff, he is kind of a movie aficionado. He's a geek like you and me, okay? He had an idea of what Episode 9 should be. And if you take a look at the preliminary sketches, it was supposed to be like Les Miserables meets Star Wars. It looks awesome. Right. He was actually going to give Finn a proper story arc. There was going to be a huge battle on Coruscant, which is something we've never seen before. The repressed people were going to fight against the First Order, and they were going to use old military tech from our days. So like Star Wars, the original trilogy. Right, so we're talking ATSTs with like painted on shark faces. You know, the teeth from like World War II?
Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful. And then he found out that they killed Luke Skywalker in Episode 8. And he says, I can't use this. Luke Skywalker is integral to my story. And so they decided to part ways. At least that's what LFL says. But he was fired. Okay. And they ended up keeping him and putting him in credits and giving him a residual check. But I'm not going to say whether he was mad or not, but he said in an interview that all the money from the checks are going to charity because it's what George Lucas would want. So that should tell you right there what he thinks of LFL. Right there. In an industry where you're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to even look at them sideways. And keep in mind, he likes George Lucas. Yeah. Now, can you tell me where THX 1138 comes in line with Star Wars?
Well, I do know. I don't know the story behind the movie THX 1138, which is, I think, what George was like his I guess, dissertation movie that he had to do in college.
Well, it goes a little deeper than that. According to this book that I have of George Lucas, it's like his biography. It's really big, fully colored. He was in an argument with Warner Brothers as to the length of the movie. And so much so that he had his friend sneak in pretending to be the editor of the film, and they stole the film.
Wow.
And so George Lucas put 1138 in all of his movies as a middle finger to Warner Brothers. Okay? Now, anybody that is in Hollywood that knows the stories would be aware of that. And the biggest hit that I'm going to mention first, even though I realized it last, was okay, so Fallen Kingdom came out, and it did not do good. It wasn't that great of a movie. But it does introduce the idea that dinosaurs are now free on American soil. They've reached the motherland, and now everyone has to deal with dinosaurs everywhere around the globe. Colin Trevorrow released a vignette, a short, if you will, that was on FX. And it's called Battle at Big Rock, and it's where an Allosaurus fights off this family of Nasuceratops in a camping ground. And it's really intense, although I don't like the ending. It's a little corny, but it works. It's okay. But it's the title, Big Rock. Because I'm like, well, that sounds kind of like something from Colorado. Over at Dinosaur Valley, there's like a Big Rock Park. I didn't think anything of it until I realized there is a Big Rock Ranch is associated with Skywalker Ranch. And I didn't know that until this guy was complaining about LFL before he quit. And they were asking him about the commissary and the food. And he said, well, the food and everything is supplied by Big Rock Ranch. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? What really got me, though, is Maisie is the little girl in Fallen Kingdom. And then she's a teenage girl in episode 9. In what's that called? Dominion. And she is called by Lewis Dobson the most expensive IP of all time. Now, IP is intellectual property.
Okay,
I know that because I was in the 501st. No, I was in the 501st, and all they said was, Disney owns the IP. Don't mess with the IP. Don't hurt us because they can do the IP. They can drop us at any time. Drop us at a drop of a hat and whatever. Yeah. So that got me thinking. Once I realized Dominion is an indictment on Disney and LFL. And for a guy that can't voice his opinion and come forward, he did it in the whole movie.
Wow.
And there's evidence of it. Because let me ask you a question. In our world, in our reality, what's the most expensive IP of all time?
I'm not sure. Probably Disney. Mickey Mouse.
Star Wars. LFL. Disney spent $4 billion to get LFL or Star Wars. Okay? In this movie, Biosyn, which is now the replacement for InGen, is taking all of InGen's dinosaurs. Okay? With the government's help, might I add. But they're taking all the dinosaurs. And what does Disney do? Disney takes all of their competitors' properties and buys them and brings them into their own. Okay? So just through action alone, Biosyn is Disney. To me, it's pretty simple.
Right.
There's other evidence showing that. The Biosyn's park, like their base, perfectly emulates Apple Park, which is this donut-shaped area, like landmass, with all the buildings that are shaped like a ring. And Apple has close ties to Disney. In fact, Bob Iger has a seat on the chair. Okay, you with me on this?
Yeah.
With Apple. Okay. The way that the good guys, Grant and Ellie, get around Biosyn is through a wristband. And at Disneyland, in Disney World, how do you get around from park to park? You ever heard of a magic band? Look it up. A magic band is a wristband that you go from park to park, and you can get a magic band in any shape, flavor, or whatever you want, and just go around and just show your wrist, and it lets you in from park to park.
Oh. Where
any business that I know of, you get a security badge.
Yep.
You get a badge, a little card attached to a lanyard, and so it doesn't make any sense that they're using a wristband. It was like, that's weird. Then the one that really kind of got to me, this is more like, well, not really got to me. It's just more of the fine point that solidified my theory, my hair-brain stupid theory, is Biosyn. Okay, so you go look at Jurassic Park. InGen, puts their branding sparsely. It's InGen here, InGen there, no big deal. In Dominion, Biosyn is everywhere. Like, it's all over the Jeeps. The Jeep straps, the seat belts, they got seatbelt, what do you call it, padding. That is, it says Biosyn. Oh, yeah. I mean, they have like this tube that gets you underground, which, by the way, that's Disney. Disney has underground paths. Well, Biosyn does too now. And Biosyn branding is everywhere. When Ian Malcolm's giving his talk when you first meet him, they have paintings, famous paintings, or Art Deco. And in the corner, Biosyn. Just like you would see out of like something out of Disney.
Yeah.
Okay. But it gets a little bit darker from there because you got Ian Malcolm. He gets fired by Lewis Dobson, and he talks about how Biosyn takes what you love, and he grabs a paper mache dinosaur. They take what you love to so that you allow them to do what you wouldn't approve of. And then, after he says that, he calls Lewis Dobson a repugnant rat bastard. I don't know if I can cuss. I don't know if that's cussing, but calls him a rat bastard. And a rat is what you call Mickey Mouse. People that don't like Disney and don't like Mickey, they call Mickey a rat. They don't call him.
He's not a mouse. He's a rat. Yeah.
So they're like, whoa, okay, this is starting to solidify here. What's going on? Mm-hmm. The weird part is that it gets even weirder because Maisie is kidnapped. And this is a movie before we were talking about human trafficking. Maisie is human trafficked. So what are you saying about Disney, Colin?
Right.
What are you trying to say? Yeah. But the weird part is who kidnaps her. Two people kidnap her. One guy is named Rain Delacourt. Okay? And that's important because Rain Delacourt, the first name is spelled Rainn. Okay? And how do you spell Rian Johnson's first name? Rian. So like, okay, does Rain represent Rian Johnson? That's interesting. We'll get to that in a moment. The other person that kidnaps her is a woman that has no name. She has a name in the credits, but they don't mention her name in the movies. Mm-hmm. And she looks older. It's like, why would an older woman be involved in kidnapping a young teenage girl? I mean, you think it'd be the other way around or something. Yeah, it's just interesting. Mm-hmm. But Maisie looks, they're on the plane. She gets kidnapped. She's about to be trafficked. And she looks at this old woman and she says, I don't want to go. And the old woman says, you don't have a choice. And I looked at that woman, and the name is an Irish name. It's like Susan O'Connor or something. Mm-hmm. But then I just got a little suspicious. I looked. Her outfit has a very striking resemblance to an outfit Kathleen Kennedy wore in a Vogue magazine cover. Mm. And she looks just like Kathleen Kennedy. So now you get Rian Johnson. So let's just say I'm right. Okay, let's just say, okay, whatever. Crazy Dave, your theory is holding water. So now it's like Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy are telling Star Wars, you don't have a choice. You're being forced into doing something you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And then to get back to Rian Johnson and Rain Delacourt, Rain Delacourt dies in the movie in this very weird way that not many people realize. You have to pay attention. He was killed by a baryonyx. Okay, so it's a type of Spinosauri. But that doesn't matter. He gets both arms clamped onto by two fighting dinosaurs. And then the coup de grace comes from the baryonyx. But not just any baryonyx. A baryonyx with a robotic arm. Bet you didn't know that. How many people realize that? The baryonyx had a robotic arm. Now, what did what did Han Solo call Obi-Wan Kenobi in New Hope? A fossil. So already a connection to dinosaurs and old men in Star Wars. And what do you call an old man? A dinosaur. That's what you do. Oh, that dinosaur. What does he know? Yeah. So now you got this one-armed dinosaur killing a guy that could possibly be Rian Johnson. Well, what old dinosaur do we know in Star Wars that has one arm? Oh, I know, Luke Skywalker. So now you have Luke Skywalker killing Rian Johnson on the spot. And you're like, well, okay, David, you're full of it. Prove it even more. Prove it even more, David. Well, someone asked Colin Trevorrow in an interview, did you take any props home from Jurassic Dominion? And he goes, I only took one. I took the robotic arm from the baryonyx. So you're like, okay, did this guy have a lot of vitriol towards Disney and Star Wars and we just didn't realize it? Because it's all there. Mm-hmm. If you take a look, you can look up the Biosyn truck, the Jeeps that they used. And the logo, have you ever been to Disneyland or Disney World?
When I was a kid, I went to Disney World. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a hidden Mickey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go take a look at the Biosyn emblem on the Jeeps, because it's could quite possibly be taken as a hidden Mickey, because it's a molecule that it's just like it's like a main circle, a main base, and then like two up here and then one on the bottom. You take that one on the bottom, you got a hidden Mickey.
Yeah.
So it's quite obvious in my and it gets even deeper. I apologize. Let me
keep
go
on
further.
going. Let's dig some more.
So have you ever seen the movie The Right Stuff?
I know what the movie. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I know the movie you're talking about.
Oh, you should see it. It's a classic. It's
Yeah,
an amazing movie. People don't realize it's actually a satire. It's about when America was racing Russia up into space, and we sent our first astronauts using the Apollo missions to get up there, and it was hilarious. They had some really iconic lines, like they referred to Operation Paperclip as, they were talking about Russia, and they're like, no, that you have this Russian guy saying, no, it's impossible. Our Germans are better than their Germans. Just funny lines, things like that.
Yeah.
But the part that everyone hates the most in Dominion is giant locusts, just these big bugs that are there for no reason. And in the movie, just no reason at all. It kind of furthers the plot, but in a weak way. And it is kind of a nice little shout out to Michael Crichton, because Michael Crichton wrote stories about, science run amok. Andromeda's Strain, for instance, is a good one. Yeah. But the locusts in the movie were only eating the crops that were not made by Biosyn. So, in other words, Biosyn was forcing people to buy their product or face ramifications. Okay. Now, the part that's really creepy to me is something that my wife pointed out in The Right Stuff. In The Right Stuff, the media, so all the guys with the cameras taking photos, the director replaced the noises of their flashing bulbs with the sound of locusts.
Yeah.
So if you watch The Right Stuff, you'll hear. So it's a subtle nod that these guys they're like locusts. They're everywhere and they won't stop and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know what side of the fence you are. To kind of go back to the thing I was pointing out about my car. I don't know what kind of Star Wars fan you are. But one of the complaints from people that didn't like Episode 8 was that the media was on the side of Disney every time. Okay? I apologize. I got an itchy nose. They were on Disney's side every time. They made the fans that didn't like Star Wars look like, racists and homophobes and every name under the sun. And the fans are toxic and they're horrible if you don't like this stuff. It even got so bad that, like, they weren't, and especially at that time, they weren't liking movies that weren't Disney. Only Disney movies were like the best movies, and this movie's amazing, and Star Wars Episode 8 is a masterpiece. Meanwhile, one of the movies that wasn't getting a whole lot of attention was what's it, the guy that played Wolverine, I forget his name, but
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman played the circus guy.
Was that The Prestige?
The Showman.
The
Showman. And it was just a musical. You had that movie, and then you had Jumanji came out at that same time. And they weren't getting the same love that Episode 8 was getting, by far. And so what we're learning in this, so now we got the locusts representing the media, only destroying only the stuff that's not made by Biosyn. You get what I'm saying? So now the media at that time was destroying things that weren't made by Disney. Now you got the locusts that are destroying things that aren't made by Biosyn. And then in the movie, they tried to erase the evidence of that, the locusts are going to be found out. So they try to catch them on fire, and the locusts cheaply escape and everything catches on fire, and then all heck breaks loose, and then that's the end of Biosyn. And it's like, boy, it's almost like Colin Trevorrow is trying to say that all this stuff with the media is going to backfire on Disney, and then that's going to be the end of Disney. And that's my theory.
And cue the GIF.
Yeah, I don't know if my theory holds water, but I put some thought into it. I did some. It was frustrating that the more I dug, the more I found. You know, a harebrained scheme, the more you dig, the less you find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my wife would come home, and it was just too much. It was just too dense. It was like, dude, you're not even going to believe this. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not even putting into account that the woman with the velociraptors looks a little bit like Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman that trafficked children and helped Epstein. Right. I'm not even bringing up the fact that Biosyn headquarters was in the what's it called? It was in Italian mountains. I forget what it was called. It's escaping my memory. I apologize. But when you look up where the actual location is, it's very close, especially if you live in Texas. You know, Texas, everything is far away, but as long as it's within driving distance, it's close enough. It's the same thing. It's very close to the Alps. And what's in the Alps? The Matterhorn. So, like I said, is it far-fetched? A little bit. I get it. I'm a little bit of a conspiratorial person. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But I have friends that I try to explain it to, and you just see the eyes roll in the back of their head, and they go numb, and they hate life that you're there. And but I think there's something to be said about that, because Colin Trevorrow, if we watch it from that context, he may have made an amazing political satire or some type of message. I don't know what the right word is about Disney and LFL, and we just never realized it.
Right. But then you go, I'm going to have to watch that film.
You're all quiet.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to watch it, just from an outsider's perspective, obviously, because I've never seen the Jurassic World and Dominion and all those. I need to actually watch them, but it's going to be very interesting to see if I can catch any of those things and go, either it's going to be obvious or it's just going to be, well, okay, But it'll be interesting because that's depth to that, really. Yeah,
I mean, people forget that because he did Jurassic World that he's not an artistic director, but it's like, no, one of his first movies was an artistic movie, and it was about a guy that everybody thought was crazy because he said that he created a time machine, and this reporter pretended to be interested in him to see this so-called time machine, and it turned out the time machine was real. Like, that's how it ends.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say that the time machine's real. It's just that the things blow up. There's no trace of them. It's just, but it's a really fun movie, and it's like, man, I could totally see Colin Trevorrow doing something like that, especially somebody that is into movies, and you gotta get. I gotta tell you, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it. But I could see how what happened to Colin with episode 8 or episode 9 was a traumatic experience, because for him to leave the Jurassic thing and almost lose the Jurassic thing permanently, it's a very traumatic experience.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've been through anything traumatic, you want to tell the world. And even if they don't want to listen to you, you have to get it out somehow.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, he wanted to reunite Luke, Han, and Leia in episode 9. They totally killed them all off. That was a bummer to him. And so what did he do? He showed Disney, this is how you bring back together the old legends with the new.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, it's not the prequel, this is the sequels, right? As far as that, the Star Wars sequels goes, I didn't hate them. There was a lot to love, and the thing that lost me was when Emperor Palpatine just, I'm back, I'm a clone or whatever, I'm still here, I'm still evil, and I was like, no, you lost me there, because the whole point of Vader's arc is destroying the ultimate evil, and he did so, and now all of a sudden, no, he's still back, and it's still back. I was like, no, you lost me. Great movie, but I'm out of here.
You took away everything. And then
Yeah.
the part that they took from Colin Trevorrow was the snake and the healing.
Mhm.
You know, the part where Ray heals the underground snake / worm or whatever that is. You know,
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But the point is, Colin Trevorrow, like, oh God, how many directors? I feel like it's like over 5 have been screwed by her so many times. So you kind of have to wonder if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry if I went too far. I warned you it was harebrained. It was a harebrained idea that I came up with.
But hey, maybe if we can be the people to, expose it to the world, and
I think I'll be honest with you. The way the industry is, even if I was right, I don't think Colin Trevorrow would say I was right. He'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're absolutely wrong.
All right. Correct.
You know.
Yeah, but I've never been in any type of scenario like that. I've never been in that kind of, I guess you could say, industry. So I'm sure there's just nuance upon nuance and depth upon depth. But that's the beauty of life, is you might never know what happened and why it happened, but you just got to keep going.
Well, I guess that's true to a certain point, but you kind of want to know the background of everything. I always laugh at the fact that we have no problem with a person doing something bad in a movie as long as we know the context. I mean, that's why we love Hank. Is it Hank in Breaking Bad? No, Walter White, not
Walter
Hank.
White.
I was thinking Hank Hill. No, that's why we love Walter White.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure there's been a couple of movies where I watched where something happened and they didn't explain why, and you were just expected to just, that just happened. Just deal with it. But that kind of makes sense thinking about it. It's like, if someone does something bad and they don't tell you why, you're like, why did that happen? Why did I have to watch that? Where's the context of it? What does that have to do with the character? Maybe they're just bad people and you just have to deal with it, Or maybe that was the whole point of the character.
I just know that I understood where people had their complaints with Jurassic Park Dominion or Jurassic World Dominion. But when I watched it in the context that I explained, it really just, I don't know, it just seemed more palpable and it made more sense to me. The whole movie.
I'm going to have to watch it in that. I'm just going to have to watch it. I just got to watch.
Yeah.
See what I can come up with.
Yeah. Any other questions? Because we could talk about, we could talk about this stuff all day. Like there's we haven't even, like I said, we never even talked about Lost World.
That's true. We didn't.
No, we just skipped from Jurassic to Jurassic 3.
You know what? We're gonna have to do a follow-up episode where we include Jurassic Park 2, talk about the good and the bad, and then move on to another thing, because there's so much fun things to talk about.
Because I can guarantee you that there's stuff about Lost World that you didn't know, but once you understand, it's actually more of a fun film that I didn't even know about till my friend brought it up to me, and it's like, whoa, just blows your mind.
Yep.
So.
Well, David, I'm definitely going to have you back on the show so we can discuss just that.
Oh, okay. Thanks for lying. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fodder for another episode on that. On just starting with that right there, and then see where we go.
I also want to, and I want to talk if you're ever in the mood about the misconceptions about dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park movies, and why you should accept them versus believe all the hype right now about everybody patooing on the movies.
Yeah,
because there's a lot.
Bring it. Awesome.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show, dude. I'll remember
my
this
pleasure.
forever.
Yeah, honey, let's never talk to David ever again. Never do it. Oh, it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see you next time.
All right, see you next time, then. Take care.